Hey, Sam, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Michelle?
I'm good. And everybody watching, welcome to Post Status Happiness Hour Live. I do this most Wednesdays. Sometimes I don't have a guest, sometimes I am traveling. And so when those things happen, we don't have a show. But for the most part, we have a show every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern here in the United States. And of course, I don't know what that means to everybody else who may or may not be watching. But it's sometime in your it's 10 o'clock where you are, Sam, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm currently located in Warsaw in Poland, and if you don't know anything about Poland, it's a very beautiful country. It's kind of like the best of Europe, but at a discounted price. If you want to live here, I think a lot of other Europeans are going to complain about that, but then they'll begrudgingly accept that it is cheaper than Spain, France,
But
and
that is
Italy, and all that.
but that is true.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, really. Mhm.
so to give us a little introduction to yourself, obviously we know that you're in Poland,
Mhm.
and uh, and then we'll talk a little bit more about how you and I met and that kind of thing. But tell us a little bit about who you are and what you
Mhm.
do with WordPress.
Yeah, awesome. So I am repping the logo today, Barn 2 plugins. I work for Katie Keith as the video content creator and I handle other marketing tasks for Barn 2. And yeah, I've been doing that job for 2.5 years now. And I have a lot of fun insights into the side of creation and content creation and stuff, which we'll be diving into today. But yeah, in general, I am a man from many places, and I've lived in many places. So hopefully, I've got a few fun stories to share with anyone who's watching today, and I can talk about how I got into WordPress and also video content creation as well. But yeah, the main thing is I work for Barn2
Aren't you?
plugins. Mhm.
Which I love that your logo is just above camera, so
I
it's
know. I
showing.
have to I have to puff up my chest a little bit because it's the
Katie will
print
be
should have been a
happy.
little higher.
Katie will be
You
happy.
know, small aside, we have all these I have all these shirts that say Barn 2 plugins, but Katie actually had to send me some new shirts the other day because she wants the shirts to just say Barn 2 for this because of the fact that we're actually expanding into Shopify, and we're
Yeah.
going to have some Shopify apps starting this year. So there's a yeah. Anyway,
I love
um,
it.
yeah, I just wanted to back up a little bit and say
Yeah.
how I got into video content creation in the first place.
Mhm.
So obviously, I didn't just apply for the job and get it without any experience. So back in the COVID years, I was with my wife, well, girlfriend at the time, and we were living in Bali, in Indonesia. And I picked up a GoPro that I had been carrying around with me for a while, and I started filming everything we were doing, and I put that on YouTube. And it's quite hilarious to look back at these videos now, but they're really wholesome and fun. And yeah, so I've created the channel. If anyone wants to check it out, I didn't send this to Michelle in advance, but I'll send it to her after. But it's called Nomad with Us, and that's like 3 words, Nomad with Us. And there's just about maybe 2 dozen videos there, and some of them have quite a few views, and we ended up with quite a few subscribers as well, which
Oh,
was a lot of
nice.
fun. But it wasn't like a big money maker, it was
Yeah.
just something I did to build up a skill set. And the skill set I built up was filming, and
Mhm.
of course editing, and that's like the main skill that I picked up from doing that. And yeah, I edit with a program called DaVinci Resolve, and I have since the beginning. It's a free software, and I have the paid version just so I can export in 4K and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But I wouldn't say it's a great one for beginners to learn, but it's
Mhm.
one that you can have with you for your entire time because it does everything. Yeah. So it does, there's a bit of a learning curve, but just like any skill online or otherwise, um, you can you can learn on YouTube, basically.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely.
the first video you edit, you'll be spending more than half of the time rather than editing. You will be searching on Google, on YouTube, and like how to do this, how to do that. And even to this day, I still double check because they're updating things, and I
Constantly.
so yeah,
I
I
always
need to
think
keep.
it would be fun. I don't have a GoPro. I've kind of wanted one, because I think it would be fun at WordCamps. Because I'm on
Hmm.
my scooter going around and
Hmm.
everything at WordCamps. I think it'd be fun to like have a GoPro on my hat or my shoulder or something, and just kind of GoPro the whole thing. Especially
Hmm.
if, and this will show you how much I don't know. I know I can go live from my phone into places, but I don't know how to. I'm sure you can tether your GoPro to your device to be able to go live places
Hmm.
from there. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I haven't set that up myself either, like a live stream through GoPro. I know that maybe a 360 camera would be a more fun way
Mm,
to set that up on your scooter, because then you could get the reactions from people as well as your
true.
own face and like whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would actually be quite fun, and you could put together some cool videos from that. I don't know about the live stream setup. I broke my GoPro
Oh
when
no.
I was diving. We were on our honeymoon in the Maldives, and I went diving. And on that particular day, we dove down to 12 meters, and the GoPro rating is only 10 meters
Oops.
underwater. And and you need a protective case on the outside of it if you're going any deeper. And I didn't even think about it, to be honest. And so at some point during the dive, it just stopped working, and I did recover some of the video though, but not all of it. It was
But
good
sadly,
fun.
it never worked again, huh?
Yeah, yeah, it never worked again. I tried everything. I filmed my videos for Barn 2 with this camera. This
Hmm.
is a Sony. Um, it's the A6400, which is actually a good mid-range camera, and it does 4K.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, and it has this flip up screen, so I can see
See,
myself.
yeah.
But the trick there is you don't want to have the screen completely visible. And the reason why I push it down like this so I can only see a little bit. So I can just check that it's recording. Because if I see myself, I look at myself, just like we're
Oh,
having this
yeah,
conversation now. And if
yeah.
you do that, when you go to edit your video and when you watch back your video, it looks constantly like you're looking somewhere else, rather than actually looking at the
That makes
frame, at the
sense.
lens.
Yeah.
So when I record the videos, I tell myself, like, look at the lens, look at the lens, and I have to be careful not to have my display there all the time. So yeah,
That makes
just a little
sense.
tip there for you if you're starting out.
I love it. I'm doing more and more video for TikTok for
Mm,
WordPress.org. I filmed a lot of TikToks. Well, I should say a lot. I filmed some TikToks at WordCamp Europe this year, which is where I think you and I officially met for the first time, face to
mhm,
face. We've known each other in the community for sure before then.
mhm,
But while I was there, I went live a couple times, which was my first experience doing that. I went live through the venue hall, showing all the different vendors. And then, and this is where I don't want to say mistake, I'll say challenge. This was where my real challenge was, is the folks at .org said, hey, could you go live for Matt and Mary's fireside at the end with the Q&A and everything? I was like, sure, no problem. Well, I hadn't anticipated anything like that, so I hadn't brought a tripod, which meant that I was holding the camera for an hour and 15 minutes, my phone for an hour and 15 minutes during a live. Um, and for somebody in peak physical shape, that's difficult to do. But for
yeah.
somebody with fibromyalgia who struggles with joint pain and muscle pain, I think towards the end, if they didn't publish the whole thing, of course, but towards the end, if you were watching, you could see me shifting, like you could feel the shift in the camera, like, oh, Michelle's moving again, oh, she's moving again, because I was like, my arms were screaming at the end
Yeah, no
of it.
kidding. No
So
kidding.
I will never travel without the tripod again. Bottom
Yeah.
line.
No,
So
fair enough, fair enough. I think
I'm
it's such a
learning.
challenge, making video on the go, like vlog style, like I used to do. With the
Mhm.
GoPro was handy because it was small enough that you could put it in your pocket.
Yeah.
But a lot of these like high-end vloggers and video creators, they have their whole setup and they have these real minimal tripods that they travel with that cost $1,000, and it's like, oh my,
Yeah.
it's quite
Because
a
you
lot.
can
If you,
you can get
Mhm,
a telescoping tripod that'll go up to like 9 feet high,
mhm,
but it's not weighted. It's you want it
mhm,
to be lightweight if you're traveling, but on the other hand, if you're putting a camera or even your phone at the top of something that's
mhm,
even 6 feet in the air,
mhm,
um, it's very tippable. So you have
mhm.
to be really careful. You don't want to be knocking things down and breaking your equipment for sure.
Yeah, no. Actually, I just saw this. I have to show you. This is one of my lights, and it's actually on a telescopic tripod, and it's also
Hmm.
quite heavy, and it goes like it sways back and forth when
Oh,
I move it. So I have to be careful with that one as well.
yeah.
It just stays in the
Um,
room though, so not a problem.
being somebody who wears glasses, obviously I have a challenge, right? Because I've got, if I
Mm.
do this, you can see I've got two
Mm.
Elgato key lights
Oh,
on either
nice.
side. So they're actually aimed a little bit up and a little bit away from me so that I get the light, but a little less reflection in my glasses. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair
if
enough.
you're a glasses wearer, it's just going to happen. So you just, I think most people tend not to notice it as much anymore that
Mm-hmm.
we're all carrying video cameras in our pockets basically. So, but
Mm-hmm.
it's challenging. I'll just say it. So, what kind of microphone do you use? We talked about your camera,
Yeah. Well, if I move it too much, you won't hear me very well.
right?
It's
Very
the
nice.
Blue Yeti.
Blue Yeti.
If Yeah, and there are better microphones that exist, but once I got this one and set it up right with these on the side of like editing and everything, once I got the levels just how I like it, it's been
Hmm.
working great for me.
Yeah, sounds
Yeah,
good.
yeah. So, and this is without any kind of what do you call it, correction for the
Hmm.
audio. In fact, actually, I would say this is one of the challenges for any video creator because anyone can get even a $100 camera and start filming, with that camera. It's not
Hmm.
super expensive. You got webcams on your computer or whatever, but audio is such a challenge, and it's also a challenge if you're, for example, if you're recording something on your phone.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the phone's audio recording software or hardware is not going to be sufficient for even basic video needs because
Hmm.
most people will put up with a bad video. They might even watch a black screen if you really have something good to say, but they will
Hmm.
not put up with bad audio, and that's a real challenge. So for the first 6 months to a year of my of my job with Barn 2, I was playing around constantly with the audio, trying to get it right, trying to minimize the echo in the room. These panels you see behind me, they're not actually made of wood, they're foam. They're
Oh wow.
acoustic foam.
Yeah.
And I know it's probably not a huge impact, maybe only 10-20%, but just bringing down that extra little bit of echo in the room does matter because this room is
Hmm.
only about 10 feet by 8 feet or something. I'm not sure, for your American viewers that I tried to translate the the dimensions, 3 by
Yeah.
2. It's 3 meters by 2 meters, so
Gotcha.
it's not very big, and the echo is a problem or was more of a problem when I started. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I made some changes in the room, about a year ago and put up these, panels and put up these, whatever you call them, dressers, like
Hmm.
cabinets, and
Hmm.
just tried to make this like little set for the videos so that the easiest thing for me now is if I want to record something, even if I want to re-record something, like fix something, I can just turn on the lights, turn on the camera,
Hmm.
and do that little bit of recording, and everything is the same as it was when I did the recording originally. Whereas
Nice.
before, I was using the window light, and this is a huge challenge because in the springtime and the summer, there are these giant green trees across the road, which I absolutely love, but they make the whole room green in the
Oh, how
video. So
funny.
yeah. So, and also if it's a dark day, if it's raining, all of those things impact the light levels.
Yeah.
And so having a more consistent setup is a real time saver, first of all. And it's also just mentally, it's a lot easier to get yourself ready to record.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
You have a routine. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I've made something like 150 videos for Barn 2 now. And I can tell you that even now, I still have to kind of amp myself up to do a video recording, which sounds really funny because, you'd think you do it often enough, it wouldn't be such a big challenge.
Hmm.
But if you aren't in the right mindset, it's hard to either, go through your script if that's what you have, or it's hard
Hmm.
to be off the cuff ready to present or say
Yeah.
something in a way that doesn't repeat yourself, like you're not repeating
Hmm.
yourself and also makes sense. And I'm a talker, but I wouldn't say I'm the most eloquent with words.
One of the things that so Nicholas Papa is amazing to me. He is creating content across platforms, and
Mhm.
he gifted me with this wonderful tripod for my phone and sent
Mhm.
me some amazing DJI, um, what do you call them? Lapel
Microphones?
mics. Yeah,
Oh,
so that
yeah.
when I'm out and about, and now when I'm creating TikTok, I put that on because so much
Mhm.
better. The mic quality
Mhm.
is so much better. Like you said, the audio is so much better. Um, and so I have now been like upgrading my equipment here and there. I have a Shure mic, which I love, which is also a gift from
Mhm.
Kathy's aunt, and it has
Mhm.
some really great sound. I do have a Blue Yeti. It's in a drawer because I replaced it with I had the Blue Yeti at the office, and I had the
Mhm.
Shure at the home office. We closed the office, and so I have duplicate equipment, and so I just kept the Shure here because it's smaller and
Mhm.
takes up less room
Mhm.
on my desk. But the this other equipment has made audio so much easier. And when I record TikToks, and I record, it sounds silly at 56 years old to be like, when I record TikToks, but I do. I put that lapel mic on, and it makes such a difference in the sound
Mhm.
quality. And even especially like this, I don't think I'm echoey. I think I get told I sound pretty good on here, but I'm in a
Mhm.
fairly large room. This is a bedroom, or was a bedroom. It's an office, home office now. But I have
Mhm.
rugs on the floor. I filled it with a lot of things that really do absorb the sound. That I've got curtains on the window right next to me as well. So hopefully, and even a desk pad that all kind of absorbs those different things. So makes a
Mhm.
difference for sure.
Yeah, it sounds funny, but when I added all the things into the room became more cluttered as a result. There's still a bookshelf, there's still a whole desk with a bunch of things on it. But I think that it does have a really positive impact on the sound quality because having
Yeah,
pictures on the desk probably breaks up some of the sound patterns and stuff.
yeah.
It's probably all adds up a little bit. Yeah.
And
Um,
even guitars on my wall over here. It's all wood. Everything's kind of absorbing. The strings are not resonating, so it's not like suddenly there's somebody playing mariachi in the
mhm,
corner or something.
mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
fun stuff.
I wanted to back up a second and just talk about, so my first of all, I had a little bit of experience with WordPress before I started with Barn 2.
Hmm.
Um, and I was building a site for the same reason as like when I was making the vlogs. So I was playing around with making a website for that project. And I also, yeah, I think I was working on a few other things. And I was going on YouTube. I was watching those videos like how to make a website, using Elementor or something like that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I got myself like a domain and WordPress site, and I was working on all of those things, but I didn't turn that into any kind of profitable venture. When this opportunity came up to apply for Barn 2, I found the job listing on a remote work website listing other jobs, a bunch of jobs. And yeah, so I made my application. I obviously mentioned my YouTube channel, my previous WordPress experience, which wasn't too extensive, but it seemed to be enough. And then I got into the next round of, well, interviews, but Katie actually put out like a challenge for 5 people to make a video, which is
Hmm.
literally to, do the job that you'll be doing. And I know not everyone has time to do these kinds of projects when you're not even guaranteed to get the job. But I figured, well, this is the only job I've come across lately that I really want to do, and I'm just looking for work right now, so I have no other job. So I spent 2 days, working on a video and, did my best to try to understand what the plugin was about and how I could integrate it into this video and stuff. And, yeah, it worked out, so I'm glad I put that extra time in, and yeah, I
Nice.
know it's a challenge because when you apply for 100 jobs and they all tell you to do something, it's not easy. But
Hmm.
in my case, I just really focused in on one thing, and yeah, here we are 2.5 years later.
I was gonna say it worked. It worked for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a
Two and a
wonderful
half
thing.
years and 150 videos later. Yeah.
I remember Katie posting on, I still call it Twitter because posting on X just sounds so
Mhm,
weird. I want to say it was last year, maybe, about your setup and what's in the background and all of that. And there
mhm,
was all this debate and all these opinions coming at you about how you should set up your camera and your background and
mhm,
your microphone and all these things. So,
mhm.
how did like public input influence how you did set things up? Was there any really good advice that you got? Or did you pretty much go, okay, thanks everybody, but I'm doing it my way?
Yeah, you've just triggered me a little bit. No, I'm kidding. This was one of those times where, because when I was doing this work, I also was pausing my normal video production. And when, and especially at the time, I was only doing videos. Now I have other marketing tasks that I've picked up specifically from Katie, but at the time it was just video. So if I wasn't putting out 1 or 2 videos a week, I wasn't really doing my job as such, you know.
Hmm.
And this project dragged out for most of the month of August. So I had a little bit of time off. So I wasn't working then. Obviously, I wasn't doing any videos. And then I came back and I was doing this project for 3 weeks. And it should have only been 1 week, maybe, but it turned out that our initial ideas, our initial tests of what we had for a background wasn't really fitting what we were hoping it would fit. And I even put all these like hexagon panels on the wall behind me
I
as a
remember
way
that.
to like test it out. And then I realized that this glue was so strong, it actually ripped the paint off the wall after I
Oh
took it off.
no.
So behind this here is a bunch of ripped paint. But the point is that when we ever do leave this place, we're good friends with the owners, and we'll just get the wall repainted or something like that. Yeah. So it's semi-permanent. Like it needs to stay there because it's covering up all the stuff.
House of sins, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And all this feedback was, it's important to get feedback in all aspects of work, and
Hmm.
including the videos themselves. I need feedback. But I'm one of those people where if somebody gives me a critique, it can be completely valid, completely accurate, and totally nice. Like they can be really nice about it. And I will still go into a corner and cry. No, not literally, but you know what I mean? Like I'll be
Yeah,
upset.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be
Sulk
upset.
a
Like,
little. Yeah.
oh, come on. I thought I did a good job. And
Yeah.
then I'll come back and I'll be like, okay, that's totally valid. And I'll change something, or I'll fix it, or I'll, you
Hmm.
know, I just don't like feeling that in the moment, like, oh, something is wrong here, something didn't go well. Yeah,
Yeah.
so this was a bit of a process, and also getting a lot of um let's just say like mixed advice and mixed ideas. There was almost like a 50-50 split between what people thought was a better idea, and that made
Hmm.
it really hard to proceed. Um, yeah, so at some point we just had to make the call ourselves and go for it. And yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
recommend that particular process, but at the same time, in hindsight, it's like, wow, it's great to have all this now, and have everything
Yeah.
set up for the videos. Like I said, it makes it easier to do the recordings. But
Hmm.
yeah, there was a it was just a challenging month for me, I think, going through that.
I can
So,
imagine. Well, I like what you settled on. So the hexagons and things like that, they were nice. But
mhm,
I tell people in marketing, because I get asked marketing advice and do some consulting on the side. When people ask me, what makes the difference for brand voice, I always say humanity, like show your human side, right?
mhm,
Be somebody that's relatable, and warmth. And I think a lot of people set up their studio or their space to record, and it sometimes has a very sterile feeling to it, or it's
mhm,
obviously a fake background, right? And
mhm,
I get asked all the time, is that your real office, or is that a background? And you might get to ask that as well, right? If some people are doing one-on-one, I'm
mhm,
like, no, this is really mine. I really took the time to set it up to have
mhm,
some warmth and to have my personality infused in it. And if it was going to be fake, it certainly wouldn't be this busy. But busy is me. I like how it looks, right?
mhm,
And so you have that wood, and I know it's not real wood now, but you have that wood panel look. You've got
mhm,
some greenery. You've got some dark
mhm,
colors and some light, and it works really, really well. I've got flowers. They're
mhm.
Lego, but they
Yeah,
but they look
beautiful.
real. They're
Yeah.
Legos. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
And then I've got the wood here with my father's guitars, some things, and then some nature photos behind me as well. And I think that that really helps people connect when they see you, because they're seeing some of your personality in your surroundings, not just
Mhm,
like, oh, this is some studio I stepped into and it's a fake background that I pulled down off the internet to use. So I think
mhm.
it works. I think it looks really good.
Can you see the Oscar trophy in the corner?
I do. Yeah. Where did
Yeah,
that come from?
I don't I actually don't know, I'll have to check again exactly where it came from, but I think it's just one of those things that turned up one day, and I thought it'd be funny to put it
So
on the background.
I had one over here and I just put it away last week.
Oh.
Um, it was like the little Oscar trophies, and we had done them when I was at Give WP.
Hmm.
Um, we it was literally the week before lockdown. For somebody's birthday, we did like our version of the Dundee Awards um, from The Office. And
Mm.
so, being the boss at that time, I gave myself the world's best boss trophy. And so that's what sat behind me, a la Michael Scott, for the longest time. But it's in a cabinet now. So I was been trying to like declutter a little bit and make
Mhm.
things a little bit easier to see behind me. So too much fun. What is your advice? So let's talk. You create. I know you create videos for a specific product, but podcasting is also something that people often ask questions about. And when we
Mhm.
set up our studio, like you have and like I have for video creation, it's also translatable to podcasting as well.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
oftentimes people will ask me, what's the best microphone or what's the best camera? How do I set it up? What's the best lighting? And of course, my advice is whatever you have on hand to get started is good.
Mhm.
And then as you grow, you can invest in better equipment. But for somebody just starting out who maybe can't afford a Blue Yeti or a Sony
Mhm.
camera, what would you suggest to them as something that's a good, here's how you get started?
Yeah, great question. There is a cheaper line of Sony cameras called the I think it's the E1 or EV. I'm trying to remember now, but they are also very capable of recording in high quality, and they
Hmm.
come in at around half the price point of the type of camera that I have, which is another about half the price point of the higher level. So there are
Right.
levels to these. However, if it depends, yeah, because everyone's starting somewhere, right? At the moment, I'm doing this video on my MacBook webcam, and I think the quality is great, but not everyone has a MacBook. I understand that. Not all webcams are made equal, though, and you might want to get an external webcam, like a USB webcam, which I think they come in at a very reasonable price point for the type of quality you can
Hmm.
expect. Plus, they're plug and play, right? The
Yeah.
downside of this camera is that unless I want to buy another device which connects it directly to my computer, I'm limited to using the SD card and transferring files over. So for live streaming, I don't have the option to use this camera without a
Hmm.
special. It's I can't remember what it's called right now, but it's a thing that plugs in and it connects the camera directly to the computer.
Yeah.
And they're expensive because they're trying to transfer a lot of data and do it at high quality in real
Yeah.
time. Yeah. As far as microphones, I started out with a probably about $12 lav mic when I was making videos for this channel, and I made it work.
Hmm.
Was it great? Like, was it perfect? No, but with a little bit of post processing in the editing side of things, you can make it a lot better. One thing that what we were discussing before is just really get the echo down,
Yeah.
because that will make a big difference no matter what microphone you're using. And then, of course, external noise. Now, when I'm recording videos, this is my big tip to everyone. I use OBS software, open
Hmm.
broadcast software. And just like WordPress, it's open source, it's free, and it's great for live streaming, gaming channels, recording, and basically anything. So I use it to both record my screen, because that's a big part of what I do, and also record my audio. And
Hmm.
then I sync the audio with whatever audio the camera gives me. I don't use that audio, but I just sync it with the
Hmm.
video. And so OBS has a feature for audio, like kind of pre-processing the audio, and it's got this noise reduction option.
Yeah.
And when you use that, I promise it will eliminate anything in the background, like a washing machine, somebody, unless it's like a human voice, like if there's just some kind of music or chatter, cars out on the street, it will really like fix all of that for
Hmm.
you. And then last resort, I also have the same kind of technology in my editing software, which in DaVinci Resolve they also have a voice mode,
Mhm.
I can't remember exactly what it's called right now, but if you enable that on your audio track, it will only keep the vocal, like
Mhm.
spoken
Mhm.
word, and it will eliminate any other music or anything else that was happening. And there are people that have tested this and they've gone into the markets in the streets of India or whatever, and they're like, they're honking horns and people chattering and stuff, and they're talking to the camera. And when they, snap their fingers and put this post processing on, it
Mhm.
actually just leaves you with the audio of the voice, and it's brilliant.
Wow.
So
Technology has
there are
come so
definitely
far.
ways. Yeah, exactly. AI processing, and it's come a long way. So
Yeah.
yeah, but in the initial phase, yeah, do your best to reduce the echo. I think that's the hardest thing to get rid of.
When I first started my first podcast back in 2018, I literally was using headphones. I did know enough to use headphones, and then the mic that was built into the Mac, and the camera that was built into the Mac. And of course, we're talking, 7 years ago. So the technology
Mhm,
in your Mac 7 years ago is very different than a newer Mac.
mhm,
And that's how I podcast for the first year until somebody's like, you should really think about getting an external camera and maybe a
mm.
microphone. And then if you listen to those early episodes versus some later episodes, you really can hear the difference. Now, did
Mhm,
anybody complain? No. Were people listening and tuning in and paying attention anyway? Yes. So that's why I always tell people, start with what you have and build from
mhm.
there. But yeah, if you have the opportunity to invest even, 25, $50 into an external mic, you're
Yeah.
better off than just using the built-in from the from the
Yeah,
from the
and
Mac itself.
it's about that proximity to your mouth, literally.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, so even in high quality productions of movies, they have the guy holding the mic because it's important to have the mic close to
Yeah.
the person's mouth when they're speaking. And podcasting takes that to another level. I have a
Hmm.
couple podcasts I listen to, and the guy is a former radio broadcaster, and you can really tell, he's right up close to the mic and he's
Yep.
speaking with his deep voice. And also Bob does this. He's got a voice for radio.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. When I record intros and outros for things like that, I get up really nice and close to the microphone as well, and you can really hear. You change
Mhm.
your timbre of your voice, you change the tone of your voice, the volume of your voice, and it makes a difference, right? And people are like, "Wow, who recorded that intro?" I'm like, "I did." They're like, "Didn't sound like you." I'm like, "Good, that's what I was going for."
No, that's
I didn't
brilliant.
want it to sound like excitable Michelle, right? So, but it is fun, and
Yeah.
and the proximity, like you said, it makes a big difference. I have actually gotten on calls; they weren't recorded, but gotten on calls where I forgot that I had set my microphone way over here, and people can still hear me. But then halfway through, I'm like, "Oh," and I bring it forward. They're like, "Oh my gosh, that just sounded so much better just now." I'm like, "Yeah, that was a newbie move," but yeah,
Yeah, even if you buy the $100, $200 microphone, you still have to connect it and make sure it's the one selected for the
yes,
live stream call, recording, or anything like that. So
yeah,
that's yeah, that's a and actually one little tip I have is when you record on a microphone like the Blue Yeti or any other, double check what your computer's settings are for audio recording level,
hmm,
because it doesn't matter what microphone you have plugged in. The level might be really high or really low, which can lead to either clipping or issues with picking up all of the sound that you're
mm,
that you're making. So occasionally, due to some software updates or something else on my Mac, I actually have to go into my settings and just regulate this a little bit.
mm,
It's a setting in the volume for like audio recording level, and I have it set at about 25% right now. But earlier I needed it at around 50, and at a different time around 10%. So you do have to be aware of this. Software like OBS will show you when you're in the red or in the green or in the yellow. I like to be somewhere in the yellow when I'm
hmm,
recording, because I don't want to miss anything, but also I don't want to be clipping in the red too much. And
makes
this is
sense.
actually a computer setting separate to OBS and separate to your microphone.
Hmm. We have a couple of people in the, who are watching. If you do have questions, throw them out there. Right, we've got about another 5 minutes or so before I think we've exhausted our content. But we do want to answer any questions that you have.
Mhm.
I have I have a lot of experience, but not necessarily wealth of knowledge, because I'm just like fly by the seat of my pants when it comes to this stuff. And Sam, you certainly have a lot more expertise, I will say, for this.
What I wanted to say, Michelle, is that it's really important not to get lost in the weeds of the technology.
I agree.
When what you have expressed a few times already in this conversation, and what I have yet to say, is that it does actually come down to the content itself, the content of the content. So we talk a lot about content creation. Content creation, you got to get lots of content out there for SEO and everything. And yes, it's true. You do have to have a presence online. But
Mm-hmm.
if what you're sharing is really either important to people, useful, or just tells a really great story, that's when people will pay attention. Not when
Mm-hmm.
you get the perfect edit, not when you have the perfect sound, not when you have the perfect background, but when you
Right.
have something to share that's
Mm-hmm.
actually, really good for them. And one of my challenges, I'll be a little bit candid here, is that I do feel a bit like an imposter sometimes, although everyone feels like that in their job,
Of course.
because there are times where I have to learn something about WordPress or about websites in general within the same week as when I'm making a video about it,
Mm.
because it's relevant to the video and I'm learning it as well. And this is really challenging. Sometimes I feel like I should take a year off making videos and just get really good at these skills, and then come back and share that knowledge. But sometimes I just have to do it on the go because I'm making videos on a regular basis. So
Mm-hmm.
it is a challenge. But if you have something really good to share, I would honestly say that somebody who is less of a video guy or girl and more of a expert in a particular thing, they'll always have a better shot at making a good channel than somebody who can just put together a good edit with good,
Mm-hmm.
with good presentation.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. We talked about equipment. You've mentioned DaVinci a few times as far as software. I'll throw in some of the software I've used over the years, which is so I'm using StreamYard for
Mhm,
live streaming. I will admit that I record podcasts for recorded podcasts using Zoom still. It seems to be just easy. Everybody has access, that kind of thing. But as far as editing, I have been an Adobe user forever. So I use Adobe Rush for video editing. And then I use Audacity, which is a free software for audio editing. And use those mostly because I already had, like when I got Photoshop, Rush came with it. So I was like, okay, I'm just going
mhm,
to use that because I've already got it. And I couldn't figure out GarageBand for anything on my Mac. And so I use things that, that just, that I had access to and that other people recommended and those kinds of things. So I say that also to let people know that you don't have to spend a lot of money on software either. I know people that are using Descript for editing. I know people that are using, like I said, GarageBand for editing their audio or their video, things like that. So, or
mhm,
iMovie on their Mac. So I always, like, when you ask a photographer what's the best camera, it's always the one that you have. And then if you can invest money, upgrade from there, right? So
mhm,
if I have my phone in my hand and my Canons are back in the house, I'm pulling out the phone because it's the best camera for that. It's there, it's in the moment.
mhm,
So what the software you have access to is always going to be fine until you can afford to improve it. And
mhm.
sometimes you don't even need to. Like Audacity is really good. You can do so much with that software without actually investing any money at all. So,
Yeah.
so use
And
what you have and then improve it as you go.
And it depends on the format you're trying to create for, because
Sure.
like you're making TikToks, and frankly, most people will be more entertained and interested in a video filmed on a phone.
It's
Um,
interesting how that works, isn't it?
yeah.
There's also teleprompter. Do you use teleprompter software at all?
Okay. I have debated about setting this up because I have a nice studio and setup and everything.
Yeah,
The reason I haven't is because while I do script things like intros and outros, I'm
hmm,
not I try not to be too heavy on the script the whole way through, and I
sure.
do try to sound like a little bit off the cuff. But what ends up happening, I'll be honest, is I just make a lot of mistakes as I go through the script, and I just have to, re-record in my editor or myself,
Sure.
who, when I have to edit my own videos, I'm just cutting out huge sections of mistakes. But that's where Descript actually is a good software, because you can use the text editing to cut out all those mistakes and keep your
Yeah.
best takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did try Descript, because it's more simple. I didn't end up continuing to use it because it just didn't go into my workflow very well. But one thing I
Hmm.
did add into my workflow is a software called Screen Studio, and they're pretty new. I found them through Twitter, but if you've ever seen those videos of people showing off their software where it kind of like zooms in and then they click on something and then it zooms out, this
Oh
is
yeah, yeah.
actually there's a specific software called Screen Studio. Now it is a paid software. There's no free version as far as I'm aware. And I invested in it because it was really great for collecting B-roll for my videos, because during the intro or during some point of the video, I want to show something else, and I want to show it in a nice way, like our
Hmm.
plugins or things like that. So I record something on my screen, and then I go into this, using the software, and then they have an editing feature where you can add these little zooms manually. So it'll like zoom in, zoom out, highlight something. And the main reason I do this is because the zoom feature in my main video editor is very good, but it adds about 4 times the rendering time to each
Hmm.
video. If I'm adding for like a minute, instead of rendering within a minute, it'll render within 10 minutes or something, this
Right. Yeah.
section of the video, and it's caused a lot of headaches for me. So that's why I added this one software in, because it makes these really nice, neat looking b-rolls for showing off software in videos. Yeah.
Nice. I put in the chat here too. So what I use, I when I'm just doing a talk or I'm recording a talk, I'm not using teleprompter. But sometimes I'm recording something very specific, whether it's a birthday greeting or somebody's asking for video for something, and I have scripted it. Or if I'm recording in another language that is not my own, and I have to remember how to what exactly I'm supposed to say. So for example, I don't speak Italian, but I recorded a little video for a friend's son who only speaks Italian. And without a
Hmm.
teleprompter, there was no way I was going to remember what to say. So I have a teleprompter app on my phone. I honestly don't remember if I paid for it, or if it was free. If I did pay for it, I know it was under $10. Um,
Mhm.
the teleprompter mirror.com/teleprompter software.htm, which is what I put in the chat, is a free software that you can use, and you can set the speed at which the words go by so that you can actually keep up with what you want to say. So, for example, um, Blake, and I can't remember. Sorry, Blake, if you're listening, I don't remember what it was that your software is, but he was hitting 1 million downloads, and so he wanted to know if people like how to celebrate it. And so I made a little video that he could use to put out and ask other people to put like, "Congratulations, Blake, on 1 million downloads." And I
Yes,
wanted to be
congratulations.
right. I wanted to be funny, so I was like, 1 million downloads. That's like, 1 million drops of water is this many gallons, and 1 million whatever, and 1 million feathers is this many chickens. Don't ask, like that kind of thing, just to be funny.
Mhm.
But I wasn't going to remember all the million things that I had created if I hadn't put them in teleprompter, because it wasn't just conversational. And so sometimes I do use teleprompter for things that I really don't want to forget, or I really want things to come across very
Mhm.
organized and not disorganized Michelle. So so yeah, so those are some of the softwares that I use as far as teleprompting.
That's a good idea. The only reason I haven't set it up specifically is because I don't have like an iPad or anything, and I didn't want to get a whole like um, teleprompter set up. But do you use like a mirror with your phone and everything, or do you just put your phone near your camera somehow?
So when I'm filming on my camera, it has my face behind it and it just runs the words over me so I can see myself, but the words over it as
Um,
well. So I can stay focused right on the camera. And then when I'm recording for like let's say I'm recording on Zoom or something, I don't have to see myself. I can actually just have the words on the screen because I can trim, right? So it's like at the end, I'm like, where's the button? Where's the button? It doesn't matter because I'm just gonna trim that part off at the end
mhm.
anyway. So if you've ever seen me something I've recorded, at the end I just stop and smile, and I hold that for like 5 extra seconds so that you don't ever see me go, "Where's the button?" So I add those little bumpers for myself so that I know I have
Yeah,
trimmable pieces, you know? So
nice,
it's
nice.
like margins. I create margins for myself at either end.
Yeah,
And it
I
feels
have to do
silly.
that. I have to do that too when I record an intro, for example. If you just start talking and start doing the intro, but your head's still moving or your eyes are still
Yeah.
somewhere else, you have to retake that.
Yeah.
So I have a little margin of like, look at the camera, start talking, and then at the end, I have to remind myself, don't look away at the script or don't look
Yeah.
away at anything until you've just given that just extra little second. Because
Yeah.
if you finish talking, but your eyes trail off before you finish talking, you have to retake that,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it just looks like you've lost interest and the viewer, isn't interesting to you or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
No.
June's here, and I am such a person who does not understand. Um, I can't even think of what
Mhm.
BTS. I don't know what BTS
Behind the
means.
scenes.
Oh,
Behind the
thank
scenes.
you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, June's like schooling me on the acronyms right now. But yeah, so there are methods to the madness. So I finish, and I'm just like staring at the screen like this, and I'm like, okay, that's enough time, so I can trim it off. And you're right, because what you do is you'll see on TikTok and everything is you'll see people talk, and then you'll see them do this, like they're
Mhm.
reaching to touch that stop, and you can trim anything before it goes live. So why not give yourself a couple extra seconds of that brilliant smile, and then click that button so you can trim the end right off.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
I haven't been on TikTok for quite a while. I actually took it off my phone about a year ago, but I still watch Instagram Reels and sometimes TikToks come over from there
yeah.
and Shorts. And actually, we're making more YouTube Shorts for the Barn Two YouTube channel, which has been an interesting challenge for me. I would say I was a little bit resistant to it because when it comes to our like important metrics, views is not a main important metric for us, but downloads and sales of our plugins are. And we don't really get a lot of follow through from short formats into
Mm,
our plugins.
mhm.
But you might argue that that's because it's for a different purpose. It's a top of funnel, broader reach kind of sort
It's
of thing.
branding.
Yeah, exactly. Branding and just getting our name out there and everything. But it was hard to justify the time put into that versus what I could put into a normal video and have that video do well in
Hmm.
search. So, we get about 40,000 views a month on our channel, and about 60% or so come through search, whether it's Google or YouTube search directly. And that's the bread and butter of our channel is like keywords search, people finding our videos through that way because they're already interested in that topic and we know that they might have an intent to look for a plugin to solve that problem.
Hmm.
With short videos, main challenge for me was figuring out what I wanted to make the short videos about because I didn't want to condense entire tutorials down into 1 minute
Sure.
shorts because that defeats the whole purpose of doing the main video. And it wouldn't probably do well anyways. And if I do too broad of topics, then it might not be relevant enough to give people an idea of what the channel's about. Because at the end of the day, we're a channel showing off our software products, our plugins and apps.
Hmm.
And, people can decide if they like that or not. They might just come for one video. They might search us up again and find more videos that they like as well. But we're not strictly like an entertainment channel,
Hmm.
and we're also not exactly a general WordPress channel either. We have our specific topics that we cover on a regular basis. So one thing that I had recommended to me uh, was actually to cover our case studies in short formats. So we have a bunch of websites that use our plugins, and they've agreed to be on our website as a case study, as a showcase. And I actually grab those stories. I try to wrap them up into a nice 1 minute long script and put that into a short format. So I've just finished editing 3 of those. They're going to go up on the channel soon, and I'll see how they do. It's going to be a lot of learning for me, basically, and
And
I'm going to
are
be
your
humbled.
are your shorts filmed vertically or horizontally?
Great question. I actually just film vertically anyway, and I just cut this.
Okay.
And there are two things I do in the editing. Either I have the entire screen full, just like this,
Mhm,
or I zoom myself out a little bit and I'm taking up this part of the screen, like down here, and then
mhm,
there's something to be seen from the computer, like
mhm,
website or whatever, up on the top. And I put my subtitles right in the middle.
mhm.
And so when it's just me, the subtitles are kind of right over my mouth, which you could argue
Yeah,
maybe
that's
doesn't
fine.
look perfect, but it's accessible. And
Mhm.
then when you have the two sections, the subtitles are in the middle, and I think that looks pretty good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because I know that for like reels, shorts, it's almost always like phone style,
Mhm.
filming. So it's very different than your long format, which is, horizontal filming.
Yeah.
So
Next
it's
up, I'll
different.
probably experiment with doing even like some selfie style videos of like, hey, check out this website, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
There are lots of different formats that people are doing and quite successfully on short videos, but the underlying reason why they're probably finding success is storytelling, and
Yeah, absolutely.
and that means so many different things. And I'm trying to learn what that means for us and for our channel, but storytelling is the big one.
Absolutely. And again, that's how you connect human beings is with stories for sure. So,
Hmm.
um, thank you so much. I want to put some banner up. If people are interested in connecting with you, learning more, they can find you over on formerly Twitter, now X.com / your name, Sam Waynes. And so that's how you get in touch with Sam. All of this will be in the show notes, of course. So if you're listening and you want to find that later, you can just find it over on poststatus.com under our news, and look for this episode. And next week, I will be speaking with Nathan Tyler and Natalie McLeese on their transition from strictly plugins, like the Simply Schedule, event calendars kind of thing, to SaaS products. So, and I remembered to write the A's as lowercase, by the way.
Oh wow.
So,
When
so
I
um,
when I got my first online job, I had no idea what SaaS even meant.
yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But that's what I'll be with Nathan and with Natalie next week talking about those things. So. Sam, thank you. I know it's very late where you are. It's going on almost 11 o'clock in the evening. I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for spending some time talking video and video content with me today. Everybody else, thanks for hanging in there with us and
Mhm.
for being a great audience. And we'll see everybody next week then. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Michelle. See everybody later.
My pleasure.